This is the story of the Siemens SC44 locomotive, more commonly known as the Charger. The Siemens Charger is an incredibly common locomotive across commuter rails in the U.S. There's an estimate that 406 Chargers are currently used all across North America. Before the Charger was created, a lot of Amtrak's Northeast Corridor fleet, such as the EMD AEM-7 and Alstom and Bombardier built HHP-8, were starting to have mechanical issues and were getting old. Because of this, in 2010, Amtrak ordered new Siemens ACS-64 locomotives. In 2014, Amtrak received the first of many ACS-64 electric locomotives, which were double-ended and looked very modern compared to the previous fleet. These trains worked very well for Amtrak, and they started thinking about the next generation of diesel locomotives. At the time, Amtrak's P-42 trains had been in service for 20 years, and while they were quite reliable, with technological advancement and new emission standards, the P-42's time was coming to an end. Because of how great the ACS-64 locomotives were, Amtrak decided to ask Siemens for their new locomotive. Teaming up with some state railroad companies, in 2016, Siemens built 32 locomotives for Amtrak Midwest in Chicago, Amtrak Cascades in Washington, and Amtrak California in Los Angeles and San Jose. The first model that was built rolled out of the Florin, California factory in March of 2016 with an Amtrak Midwest paint scheme. It would undergo testing in a Transportation Technology Center in Colorado. Tests were conducted on the main line in early 2017. The other Amtrak routes would also receive Chargers later that year, except Surfliner, who got them in 2018. Unique to the California locomotives was a hump at the back to align with the bi-levels used with these trains. These trains could go up to 125 miles an hour, had regenerative braking for smoother stops, and had 4,000 horsepower. They came equipped with an LED board at the front, some new tech features, a quiet idling noise, and really bright headlights. Some other rail operators bought some too, with Brightline in Florida purchasing slightly more streamlined Chargers with a bit less horsepower, and in 2018, Via Rail in Canada also bought modified Chargers to go with their venture cars that were also made by Siemens. More and more companies were buying these train engines, and they seemed to be working fine until winter. Amtrak Midwest and Amtrak Cascades were experiencing mechanical issues where the wide-open vents on the side of the engine really weren't good at keeping the bad weather out. Sometimes there were mechanical issues leading to power loss or unexpected shutdowns. These problems were solved for the most part, and Amtrak started to think about modernizing their longer-distance Genesis series trains. In 2018, Amtrak ordered ALC-42 locomotives, and in 2021, Amtrak received ALC-42 locomotives for long-distance services that were put into revenue service on the Empire Builder. The slightly newer Chargers had the same issues as the Chargers, and software and mechanical issues led to a train being 19 hours late. So the trains were a bit problematic, but they still seemed fine until, you guessed it, winter, where once again they had freezing issues in the engines. Unlike last time this happened, instead of fixing the problems that showed up right then, Siemens refurbished all of the new engines, leading to the ALC-42-E trains that had a slightly different front. Now, I don't mean to only say bad about the Chargers, and they are still helping modernize American rail, but they have had many issues. For example, whenever there was even the slightest mechanical issue, the engines would shut down entirely. There are also some hard-to-explain situations, like when a Surfliner engine just stopped working 2117, but this has actually happened many times. Ever wonder why the Surfliner is back to Dash 8s? So it seems Chargers were a bit unreliable, but I mean, what else are commuter rails going to use, MP36s? Brightline, though, has been missing out on the fun game of, will your Chargers start without any problems? I think that it has become pretty obvious why Brightline has better Chargers than the other railroads. For a start, they maintain each train far more often than most other railroads, and they don't leave trains idling for so long. Like, why does Amtrak hate turning off their chargers, but love just letting them sit there while on? Siemens has claimed to have fixed most of the issues on the other chargers, but I really doubt that. Only time will tell if these locomotives are just a phase or the next F40 of railroads.